of drawing the shadow of the thing on the ground instead of the thing. I am a self-taught artist and have always been making art since I was a child, just not with any serious intent. I started making art on the street as an excuse to be outside on a very nice day. Before that, I was working as a commercial artist, freelance. I would draw theater posters and logos for businesses and governmental guides, you know, diagrams of things. But all of this was on a computer. And on a very nice day, it feels wrong to sit at a computer. So since I was making a kind of art inside on the computer, I thought it would make enough sense and make me happier if I made art outside on the street. I was still making art, still doing my job. The process begins with pareidolia, which is the scientific name for the tendency of the human brain to look for patterns. We are pattern-seeking animals, and pareidolia is the psychological tendency to see shapes in clouds or to see faces in any arrangement of dots that gives two spots where the eyes would be. And I see these everywhere. So being out on the street, there are many natural random occurrences, and looking at them helps create an idea for the drawing. And then by adding more shapes to the shapes that already exist in the natural world, the drawing takes some kind of form. And then eventually, through adding more color and more shadow, hopefully begins to look like a real object through another process known as anamorphosis, of designing it to be viewed from one camera perspective that hopefully gives it the illusion of depth where it has no depth. I depend on the comfort that comes from knowing that the art will be destroyed. The English technical term for it is ephemeral art. There are many kinds of ephemeral art. Making a beautiful cake is ephemeral art because it's meant to be eaten. And the greatest joy that I find in ephemeral art is that it avoids many of the less pleasant aspects of art, which is the preservation. That I know painters who are very talented and they spend a lot of their time not painting, because after they have painted a painting, they need to frame the painting, they need to store the painting, they need to ship the painting, they need to display the painting so that they can sell the painting to pay for the framing and the shipping and the storing. And none of these are the fun part of art. The fun part of art is the making of art. So in my belief, for my comfort, ephemeral art, art that is going to be destroyed inevitably, needs none of those things. You make the art, you enjoy making the art, and then you walk away. On the positive side, the only reason that I am able to be a professional sidewalk artist is because I took pictures of my sidewalk art and shared them on social media, which I did originally only to show them to my brother. This is something I like about social media. I'm old enough to remember that before social media, if you went on vacation and you took pictures while you were on vacation, and wanted people to see them, you would have to invite people to your house. And they would have to sit in your house and look at the pictures, which no one wanted to do, except they would later go on vacation and they wanted you to come to their house to see their pictures. And the same with parents, with children. They would have to carry physical pictures. I like the way that social media lets us passively share. I would not want to send a photo of art that I made to my brother because he's my older brother. And if he didn't like the art, I would be sad. I did not send the art to my brother. I put it on social media and hoped he would see it and hoped that he would either like it and tell me or not like it and not tell me, which I think social media is very good for. But by sharing it with so many people accidentally along the way, other people started to know that I do this, and my first invitations to draw were on the other side of the world where people had seen pictures of my art and wanted me to go draw there. So on the positive side, it allows people who will never walk down my street to see what I drew on my street at home. On the less positive side, it is harder to draw something to make yourself happy, to create art that makes you happy, if you are thinking about all the other people who will see it. So I try to pretend while I'm making art that none of the people on the internet actually exist. I try to pretend they're all imaginary. Of temporary street art is that in most places it is at least forgivable, but may or may not be legal. In some places, temporary street art is still considered graffiti because by some definitions, anytime you alter someone else's property without their permission beforehand, you are engaged in graffiti. So it was a good idea to know how the art will be received so that at least it is easy to apologize and erase if someone is not happy that it's there. Otherwise, I think it's a much better way to put art out onto the street than with something that could get you arrested, that could be illegal. It is less likely to cause trouble and to create negative feelings because it is so easy to remove. I'm very interested in the motivation of it. There is a lot of it in my hometown. I think the intriguing and potentially problematic thing is how people react. I personally would not want to do permanent sprayed graffiti because I would know that at least some of the people who saw it, it would make their day worse. It would give them a negative reaction because if you own that wall, it's very unlikely you're happy to see the graffiti. And many other people in the neighborhood, they may not be happy to see the graffiti. And also because it's permanent, even if it is brilliant, even if it is very smart, very well-made art, the first time you see it, art always evolves. And so it's not, if it's a very interesting new idea when it is first created, it might become a very sad old idea and still be there. So that's why I don't do it. But I understand from talking to graffiti artists that many people feel like they are not represented in their community. They feel like when they look at the blank walls that this doesn't feel like their home. And I think some people who do not feel, whether they are justified or not, if they feel like their community does not acknowledge them, I understand the urge to be acknowledged that you exist and you are here. And that's one way to do that. So I don't think that necessarily forgives all the negative feeling, but I think that at least, I think it's better to try to understand why someone would do something rather than just to say that it's bad. Because if you just say that person is evil because they did this thing I don't like, now there's no more conversation. You've just labeled them as evil. And I don't think anyone is evil. I think they just do things we do or do not like to see. That's my feeling.